Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenaton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. We're doing a deck tech today, and in my previous video, my previous deck tech, I did a deck tech for a deck that a lot of people were calling me out on, saying like, streamer, you're crazy. This deck's not viable. It was Sundisk, by the way. So I decided I'm still gonna do unviable decks for competitive stuff if I think they're decent. But I decided today, let's go and talk about a deck that's a lot of people agree on is somewhat viable in the meta. Today we're going to be talking about Turbo Thralls. Talia, Lysandra mostly landmark, countdown, advancement, Turbo Thrall deck. So let's get into the deck discussion. Look at the deck. Okay, welcome to the deck. First things first, I would like to say this deck is a relatively new concept that's actually starting to be more and more seriously looked at. It's been around for about as long as like Talia and Lysandra have been in the game, but it's getting looked at more and more and more, especially in the past couple of days. Reasons for that? Nothing really crazy. The Talia nerf or Talia buff made people want to look at it more as well, but as well, other people are thinking it's a decent counter for certain decks. Another quick note: this version runs Zillion. Because the deck is still very new and fresh, and it's still being built really, and people are trying to find the most optimal version. There's a lot of variations. Some decks don't play Talia at all. Some play all three copies of Talia. This version I'm showing off today only plays one. Instead, we're playing a couple of Zillions, which is not that common, but I personally like lists that play Zillion. Helps you against the more early game aggressive decks. Time bombs are just really sweet against Zerarelia, which is basically our worst matchup. That's another quick thing to note. I think this deck is a solid tier 2 deck. And I honestly could see this deck being a solid tier 1 deck in the future in a meta where Azir Aurelia is not that popular because this deck really is heavily unfavored against Azir Aurelia. It's also pretty bad against Azir Darius as well, but that's another thing. Now, what are the good matchups? It's pretty good against dragons and slow decks in general, so also TLC. Decent as well, like pretty favored against Nasus Thresh as well. So while it has a bad, absolutely terrible matchup against the most popular deck in the form of Azir Aurelia, it has a good matchup against the second most played deck, which is Nasus Thresh. So it tries to even it out, but it's not enough. A little mediocre against Ezreal Draven, though. Ezreal Draven kind of, if the Ezreal Draven player knows what they're doing, they should be able to beat you most of the time. But yeah, so what is the deck itself? What is our game plan here before we talk about the individual cards? Our game plan is pretty much in the name of the deck. We try to speed out Thrall really, really quickly, a Frozen Thrall. Frostguard Thrall, whatever. So we're going to do that. How? Well, we have a few ways to advance the landmark really quickly. Time in a Bottle, Clockwork Curator, and Draklorn Inquisitor. It's like pseudo advance. Clock Hand for the late game if we still just need it. And then besides that, we also have Promising Future to get 2 Thralls. And there is the potential for a super nut draw, which is basically early Thrall, like turn 1 Frozen Thrall, get a countdown either in the form of Curator or Time in a Bottle, play a Promising Future to basically get double the Thralls, and then play Talia to copy the Frozen Thrall that's been hit by Promising Future. And then when those 2 Frozen Thralls pop, you'll get 4/8/8s with Overwhelm, which is crazy. That is a very unlikely thing to happen, but because we have cards like Zillion and Time in a Bottle, aka we have Predict, it's not that crazy. Sure, we only have one Talia, but again, Predict makes it somewhat consistent. But you don't always want to go for that super crazy nutty draw, nutty turn. Sometimes just getting 2/8/8s is more than enough. Also, the focus spells let us just do surprise thrall pop outs to being able to get them out before our opponent can really react to them. As for against other decks, we have a very nice anti-aggro package here. Avalanches, Blighted Ravines, and Tavern Keepers and Ice Shards trying to help us out. Lots of freeze against some of the more bigger unit decks. So some Flash Freezes, some Harsh Winds. Some people like to play Three Sisters. I personally just like Flash Freeze instead because I feel like I'll almost never need any of the other forms of Three Sisters. Overall, very fun deck to play. So, that's the general game plan. Basically, just speed out a couple of thralls really quickly. Also, remember, since Lysandra's a really strong card, we also have the basically inevitable late game of the Watcher. Sure, it's not a super game over, and unlike Trundle Lysandra control, we only really get one Watcher, unlike Trundle Lysandra, who can make, I honestly don't even know how many, but like 4 Watchers or something on one turn. So it's not as crazy good as Trundle Lysandra control in terms of its Watcher generation, but it's still good in case all of our 8/8s with Overwhelm didn't finish them off. So let's talk about each card one by one. First off, well, Frozen Thrall. I mean, there's not much to talk about this here. We want to really just draw one of these and get them on the board early so we can start counting down really quickly. While you don't really want to draw more than one of these, we do play all 3 because, again, like I said, it's really important to get one of these on the field as fast as possible. I have noticed, and obviously everyone else has as well, but if you don't have a Frozen Thrall by, I'd say, turn 3, maybe turn 4 at the latest, you're most likely going to lose the game. So you really want to find Frozen Thrall. Sure, Lysandra creating a Thrall is basically your backup, but you want to have the Frozen Thrall on one itself. Next up, Imagine Possibilities. This card actually does kind of 2 things. One, the advancing thing. It just lets you pop out the Frozen Thralls really quickly and surprise your opponents. But number 2 is, if you're in a desperate spot, you can use it to create a random countdown landmark, and you might be able to finesse out a Frozen Thrall. It's very unlikely, but, you know, it might work. But it's extremely unlikely. But, you know, sometimes you got to go and do what you have to do to try and get back in the game. Next card, Clockwork Curator. Very simple card, not much to talk about here. We're trying to advance our landmarks and get them out quickly. Clockwork Curator does exactly that. No Preservationist in the deck, by the way, because, well, Preservationist is slow, and we kind of have Draculorn Inquisitor in that 5-mana slot anyway. Just another quick thing if someone's wondering about that. Next card, Preservarium. Just an overall decent landmark. Helps us draw through our deck, get some more cards, look for key cards in certain matchups like Avalanches and stuff. Overall, lovely card. Next card, Time in a Bottle. This enables us to get our nut draws and our nut starts more consistently. It advances the Frozen Thrall we have on the field, if we have one, of course, and it lets us smooth out our next turns. Lets us find the Lysandra, lets us find the Promising Future, etc., etc. Now, next card, Zillion. Zillion is a newer addition to this deck, and I'm a big fan of it. I really like it. A lot of people really like it as a 2 of. I know some people are already playing 3 Zillion, 3 Lysandra, no Talia. I kind of really like at least 1 Talia, though, so I'm showing off this list. But yes, being another basically way to predict, very good defensive body in the early game against the more aggressive decks to try and slow them down, which is basically our worst matchup. Anything aggressive, really. And the time bombs are nice, too, for basically pinging down your opponent's stuff and drawing and cycling through the deck. And, of course, it's extremely unlikely, but sometimes Zillion will level up and win the game on his own because, well, leveled up Zillion is crazy good. 2 Flash Freezes? Well, we're in Freljord, so why not play Freeze, right? No Troll Chance, by the way, because, well, most of our units are big on their own already or have high health, so we don't really need it. And sure, Flash Freeze a little more, but it's just, in my opinion, better than Troll Chant when you are not trying to do too much combat with your units. So 2 Flash Freezes. You could try playing Three Sisters if you want, like Fury of the North or something. I don't think Entomb's really that crazy of a card to want, but maybe. The 1 mana is sometimes a little taxing, though, especially for a deck like this that really wants to get very specific early game turns. Next up, 3 Ice Shards. Azir Aurelia is a deck. Aggro decks are a deck. Triple Ice Shards helps us to not get run over by smaller decks. Also, it's like very, very small extra burn against our opponents, if that really matters. It also helps us push in a little more damage too by getting 1 health out of the way of our opponent's blockers for our thralls as well. So that's kind of cute too. Very nice card anyway, though. Next card, Kindly Tavern Keeper. I don't think I need to talk about this guy too much. Just a solid, decent body. Great heal, healing up our face, healing up our units, just heals up whatever we need. Great card overall. And now we got Lysandra. She does a lot. She gives us our Watchers for the, like, super powerful late game that Watcher gives us, even if they're somehow able to survive the Watcher and not die from the deck out. The 11-17 body of the Watcher is still crazy big. Getting Ice Shards every single turn after she levels up that are also free is technically a clock as well for your opponents. Sure, it hits your own board, but whatever. Also giving tough to your Nexus is nice. Just Lysandra's a crazy good card. And while she's 3 mana, a 2-3 with tough is not the worst defensive body you can have. So it helps the player as well early against certain aggro decks. Next up, got some more AoE here. 3 Avalanches, 3 Blighted Ravines. Again, just here for aggro decks. Aggro is a bad matchup for us, so we try to shore up our early game to try and survive, basically. Blighted Ravine's also kind of a small heal, too, so it has that to think of. So, very nice here. I'd say you want 3 Blighted Ravines. I could see cutting at least 1 Avalanche, maybe even 2 if you're really greedy, but I think 3 Ravines is the best. For the current meta. Obviously, as meta changes and shifts around, Avalanche is better than Ravine. Ravine gets better than Avalanche. It always changes. But I like Ravine a little bit more than Avalanche now, but I still like running all 3 copies of both of them. In the future, though, if the meta slows down, I could see cutting some Avalanches for more late game, more card draw, whatever. Anyway, a few more cards. Next up, Promising Future. Card is a card that not many people even know exists. 4 mana slow spell, grant an allied landmark. My countdown completion effect activates twice. You could technically use this on like a time bomb from Zillion or the Preservarium to get an extra card draw, but 99.9% of the time you're using this on a Frozen Thrall to basically get a second 8/8 with Overwhelm. That's pretty much it. I will say be very careful if you're against certain decks like Ionia decks or Noxus decks. In other words, be very careful of Homecoming bouncing the landmark or Scorched Earth just destroying the landmark, because that is first off at the bare minimum a 2-for-1, and you've probably used a lot of mana for that. So it's a little bit scary, but if you're good at the game, you can play around those things. Also, if you want to, another card that's not in the deck, Rite of Negation. Some people like to run a couple of Rite of Negations. I think it's a little too slow for the meta, and there isn't really a popular enough deck where you want Rite of Negation, but I could see you playing it. Next card up, Draklorn Inquisitor. Lovely card. Helps you pop out your thralls really quickly. A turn or a thrall with a countdown advancement from the Curator or from Time in a Bottle into a Draklorn Inquisitor will get the thrall out really quickly. Obviously, a little weak to cards like Equinox and stuff and just removal in general, but if they're wasting removal on Inquisitor, you're probably happy anyway. You're a little sad if they Equinox it, but hey, what are you going to do? It's Targon, right? Also, next card, 1 Talia. only one Talia. Some people say no Talias is correct. Some people say two Talias is correct. This deck only plays one because we're playing 2 Zillions. The problem with Talia in this deck, you might say, like, isn't Talia good in this deck? We're a landmark deck. Shouldn't Talia go really well in a landmark deck? 1. The Frozen Thralls, if you promise future them, are creating 2 Thralls. If you copy them with Talia, that's 4 Thralls. That sounds great. But you're starting to run out of room on the board. You'll have Lysandra, 4 Thralls, maybe another random Frozen Thrall from like Lysandra herself or something, and then Talia gets summoned. In other words, you might not have enough room for all of those Frozen Thralls when they pop out. So we still play at least one Talia because we are playing Zillion, so we're getting Time Bombs. We have like Preservariums, the Frozen Thralls, so Talia could level up, and leveled up Talia is pretty strong. She pushes damage really quickly, and the nut draw of getting 4 Frozen Thralls is still really strong. Next card up, 1 Harsh Winds, just another freeze spell here. Some people like to play Succumb to the Cold, I believe is the name of the card. The 4-mana freeze that summons a Frozen Thrall. For an extra 2 mana, though, you can just play Harsh Winds. But yeah, some people like to play this as a 1 or 2 of, just to really guarantee getting a Thrall early. I have tried it myself, and I'm not that against it, but I just think there's better cards you can play, like Harsh Winds. Also, 1 Clock Hand. Clock Hand is here as basically our, like, okay, let's get a Frozen Thrall right away. And it's not dead if you don't have any more landmarks, because you can always create a landmark. So, pretty sweet card in general. I always like Clock Hand as a one of in my decks that play landmarks. So, that's the deck. Very, very fun deck. Little solitaire-like, though, because you're just always trying to do your thing, and you're only really interacting with your opponent if they're a more aggressive deck. But some people like that. It's kind of fun for me too, but let's get into a couple of games to show how this deck works. Okay, I believe we're going to be starting off with a Lost Boys, because this is not a good matchup. Our hand, though, decent. I am going to mulligan away Tavern Keeper, Clockwork Curator, and I think I'll keep Lysandra and Avalanche, and I think that's it. This guy kept 1 or 3 cards. That's kind of scary. Okay, this helps, but... Okay, that really helps. Okay, turn 1 pass, turn 2 pass. This guy passed on 1, 2. That's great for me. But yes, as for mulligans, you really want to find Frozen Thralls. I feel like universally saying a universal against any kind of deck mulligan is find Frozen Thrall on 1. That's really good. Sure, this Frozen Thrall's on 2, which is not as great, but it's still fine. We've now got Lysandra into... Well, we got a bunch of stuff we can do here.
Yet I remain.
So, we can Promising Future next turn, setting up our Frozen Thrall. You do have to really think your turns through in the future. That is a thing that you will have to think about with this deck. I could attack in here and die to... I'm not going to attack in here. I'd die to Shapestone. But yes, you have to think like 1, sometimes even 2 turns into the future. Now, depending on what my opponent does here, I might just Avalanche.
Everything's better with company.
Says you.
Yeah, that's Avalanche worthy in my opinion. That's very Avalanche worthy in my opinion. I feel like they might have even had a second duo here, but I'm not going to risk it. Wow, they did not have anything. I was expecting, at the very least, like a lead and follow, maybe something. I will block here. If they want to waste a... If they want to waste whatever it's called here, I'm fine with that. Shapestone. Cool. Alright, you can do it again. Yeah, that's fine. Welcome to Azirarelia, boys. They do their thing. But yeah, Lysandra, she's trying her best. She's got her tough doing its work. This is basically how you're supposed to play this matchup. And with this matchup, you, 1, need them to have a bad start. My opponent didn't have anything on 1. 2, you need to have an early Lysandra for tough. I am probably going to just play I'm probably going to just start with the attack here, mostly to soft pass to them, see what they do. Okay, cool, cool. A Deus. They could play another Aurelia, they could play a Azir. I have 8 mana next turn, so I could Ravine, promising future next turn, so I'm just going to develop the Inquisitor here.
Show me your worth.
Sure, I wish I had played Ravine now, but it's fine, it's fine. I have Flash Freeze. Another Frozen Thrall. But yeah, as you can see, we're running into that problem I was talking about.
And hold on to mine.
We're starting to run out of room on the board. Like, quite a bit. And the Azir Aurelia player is, well, they're doing Azir Aurelia things. So here, I think I have to get this ready to go. And I think I might even have to have my... I don't know, I'm a little worried here.
A dance for two
Like,
hearts
she's gonna level up now.
united in war. Remember our ancestors and fight for those who came before us.
Yep. So... I'm gonna block like this. I'm trying to bait them into switching here, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna work. So I think we lose. Because, yeah. This is great. Thankfully they didn't block like this, so I'll just have to take the 8, I think. I'm expecting them to Blade Surge here, but that's fine. Yeah, they're trying to kill this. That's good for me. They'll just save Aurelia again because they have another Blade Surge by, like, swapping these two, but that's fine with me. Yeah. Annoying, but we can't do much about this because welcome to Azir Aurelia.
I'll always catch you.
But we did stop a lot of damage. That is the good news. The bad news is Aurelia's still around. I need to draw... I'm going to say I need to draw a Ice Shards. I really need an Ice Shards now. I also really need them to not have anything here.
I wish I could give you silks, but I must give you steel. Stay by my side. I cannot ask for more.
I'm just going to pass here. I don't want to even block, because if I block, they'll just swap in Aurelia and kill me.
Shoulders set, blades sharpened. Plant that lead foot. Don't worry.
Again, I can't even block here. So I need a top deck Ice Shards. It's literally just Ice Shard or bust right now. Yeah, that's it. It's just Ice Shard or bust. That's not Ice Shards. Good game.
This is but a battle. I've already won the war.
Okay. So, let's try and get a win this time. We lost last time, but you know, we have a chance to make it better. Here though, I think I need to keep a hand that is very, very good against early game aggression. I'm a little afraid to keep Lysandra because of... I'm gonna just keep this, by the way. I'm a little afraid to keep Lysandra because of Merciless Hunter, but, you know, whatever. Okay. No Zillions, though, sadly. Really wanted to find Zillions earlier, but this is not a bad hand. Not a bad hand. Flash Freeze in case they try to do anything with Nasus. Pretty decent hand. Also, they passed on one. That was always nice. If they try to do a double Dune Keeper, I got Ice Shard. You'll love to see it. Oh, you'll love to see it. Let's see it, opponent. Waited for them to attack in case they wanted to use Rite of Calling, by the way. Honestly, they might surrender now. I doubt they would. It's just a 2-for-1. But it is a lot of damage they miss out on. That's 8 damage they just missed out on. I guess I still took 1 anyway, but whatever. I am going to play Lysandra here. Sure, they can play Merciless Hunter, but I mostly care about getting the Thrall out really quickly. And who knows, they might not even have Merciless Hunter anyway. They don't seem to have Merciless Hunter. I can even get a 2 free damage in here. There's not really a burst speed way for them to pop the Curse Keeper. Are you playing the not matron? I can't remember her name now.
There you are.
Yeah, that card. I was gonna say, like, are they playing Caretaker? So this is a little weird with how I have to do this turn. I want to play Promising Future here. I'm going to take a lot of damage here, by the way. I'm taking, what, 7 damage in theory here? This might be a mistake. I've been Black Speared. Okay. But yeah, I'm taking a lot of damage here because I want to set up the double Frozen Thrall. Because I wanted Lysandra to level up and give me tough. Sadly, I don't get that, but it's fine. It's fine. And just play Drakhorn. This was simple. Got a nice blocker now. They've got Thresh, that's annoying, but I can freeze him if I care. Taking a lot of damage here. Quite a bit of damage. Thankfully, they're open attacking. So, let's take it all. Not a problem. I should probably advance here. So, I have something cute I can do, and I'm going to do it. I can advance this. I think I need the Tavern Keeper here. And then I can play Imagine Possibilities. And that will give me 3 8/8s. Now, of course, this is all dependent on if they have a way to kill my Inquisitor. Please don't have a second Black Spear. Alright, well, let's go for it. Alright, please don't have another Black Spear, or I guess 2 Vile Feasts. Please. I feel like I'll win the game if they don't have it. Oh, they have it. Okay, no, 1 Vile Feast. I don't know why they're just Vile. They have to have 2, right? There's no way you only have 1. No, they don't. Okay, 3 8/8s for me. Welcome to our game plan. It's active. Do they have... No, Thresh is not that leveled. This guy's like... Are you playing Ruination? I should have considered attacking with the Inquisitor. I might be able to get surprise lethal with the Blighted Ravine, though. That's lethal. Lethal opponent. You need, like, Vengeance or something here. Don't tell me you're actually playing Vengeance or Ruination. That's not common. Come on, that's not common. But yeah, I should have attacked in with a 4-1. That's a misplay on my part. I could have forced through an extra little bit of damage. I feel like maybe Withering Wail is coming. That's why they played that Vile Feast, though. Oh, no, we just win. Yep. And that's how the deck wants to work. Okay, welcome back to the deck. Welcome to the closing thoughts of the video. I think those 2 games were very good games, though. We got to see basically the 2 most played decks in the meta at the moment. We got to see how the deck plays. We never got to really see the late game of Lysandra Watcher or even a Lysandra level up, but we never even saw the Zillion. But I feel like we got to see the core idea of the deck, which is why I'm not doing a 3rd game in all honesty, and I don't want to make the video too long. But we got to see the core idea of the deck, which is play a Frozen Thrall somehow. Both games, I believe, we got Frozen Thralls from Lysandra. Play a Promising Future and try to get the Thrall out quickly, either through Draklorn Inquisitors or countdown advancing cards, which we did in Game 2 against Nasus Thresh, and in Game 1 against Aziralia. Well, we got run over because Aziralia Omega Laugh. But yeah, very fun deck. I highly recommend it. I seriously do think it is a highly competitive deck. You could definitely bring it to Gauntlet or a tournament. You would just have to ban Aziralia, which is kind of a thing you kind of already have to do in tournaments already, in my opinion, unless you bring a very specific lineup or you're really confident in how you can play against Aziralia. Also, yeah, just a very fun deck in general. Games go by very quickly, in my opinion, because of how quickly you close out games. So, as well, there's that to consider if you want to play a deck that has quicker games because you are limited on time or whatever. So, I would love to hear your thoughts on this deck. Do you think it's a viable deck in the meta? Do you think it's more of a meme that's going to fall off eventually in a few days, even a few weeks? Or do you think in the future it's actually going to be kind of an oppressive, toxic deck and might even be needing of a nerf? I'm not sure myself. Maybe Lissandra will get nerfed because of Trundle Lissandra, and this deck will take a hit as well and get hit in the crossfire. That's the only way I see it getting nerfed. But I do legitimately think this is a good deck, and if it weren't for Aziralia, this deck would actually be a top-tier deck. Obviously, there's still a lot of innovation and fine-tuning going on, as the deck is still fairly new, and I would love to hear your ideas for how to build this deck, what kind of cards you like to play, whether you think Rite of Negation is good, whether you think Talia is needed, how many copies you would play of Talia, whether you like Zillion in the deck or not. I'd love to hear your ideas for the deck. Anyway, though, if you enjoyed the video, though, of course, if you could leave a comment or like down below, it would really help me out, of course. If you want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always check me out over on Twitch at my twitch.tv account at twitch.tv/Zenaton. I stream there pretty much every single day. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!